Hey, I'm Dylan John, and this is Zhiyun's new Weebill 3E of their Cinepeer line. It is small, it is compact, it's powerful, and best of all, it is affordable. But is this the right fit for you? And how is this different from Zhiyun's Weebill 3S? This gimbal is very small and light. It weighs slightly less than Zhiyun's Weebill 3S at around 2.18 pounds or 990 grams. So it seems to be a good weight to help minimize some of those micro jitters that you might have, and at the same time not causing too much strain on your muscles if you're shooting for long periods. As far as the size, this thing is pretty dang small, so I can fit this in my backpack, which I haven't been able to do with many gimbals of mine. The payload it can handle is 6.6 pounds or 3 kilograms, which is surprisingly a lot for how tiny the gimbal is. I personally wouldn't be pushing this gimbal to that amount of weight, but you will see later stabilization tests with this 5.2 pound setup to see how it performs. You don't really have to worry about the gimbal dying on you while shooting because the battery life is pretty good. You get anywhere from 13 to 16 hours on it. So unless you're shooting incredibly long days, you have quite a lot of playtime with this. And if you are shooting long days and you notice that your battery percentage is getting low on your LCD display, you can just plug in a USB-C cable to the side of the gimbal. You have all your standard modes available in the Weebill 3E like pan follow, locked, and follow mode. If you double click the mode button, you can access some of the specialty modes. So this one is POV mode, which is essentially your no rules mode. All the axes are unlocked. And if you double click again, you can access the vortex mode, which is essentially a spin shot. And there's actually a few different ways that you can turn this on. You can simply just kind of pet the thumbstick here, the scroll wheel. You can also use the thumbstick on the front and just push that left or right. And lastly, you can even have this go automatically and non-stop by hopping into your main menu, going down to Vortex and hitting start, and then it will go continuously. And after Vortex mode, if you double press the mode button again, you have the portrait mode, which is useful if you want to set up your camera vertically. I don't shoot a ton of vertical content, but the vertical integration with the gimbal is super easy. You just unlock some things, slide out your camera and flip it vertically, use the vertical rail that's attached on the slide, and then slide your camera back onto the gimbal. You have to rebalance your gimbal after that, but it is a pretty painless process. If you happen to move the joystick so the gimbal is in a different position, or maybe you were in a specific mode where the gimbal isn't centered, you can just double click the trigger button and it will recenter to the horizon. You can also triple tap the trigger and it'll turn to selfie mode, so now you can get vlogging shots. Let me triple tap again. And lastly, if you hold the trigger in, it'll enter go mode, which is essentially an ultra responsive mode that's useful if you need to capture fast moving objects or something moving by your frame really quickly. It just makes the gimbal ultra responsive and quick when you move it. The gimbal also connects to Zhiyun's ZY Play app, which lets you control the gimbal remotely with the little joystick on your phone. And if you hop into the Sync Motion tab, you can use the angle of your phone as a controller itself. So by tilting your phone up and down, the gimbal will tilt up and down, and by turning your phone, it'll turn the gimbal, and so on. The LCD screen is a bit outdated, but that doesn't bother me personally. The menu is pretty easy to navigate through, and you can adjust things like your gimbal speed, as well as auto-tuning your gimbal so it performs better with the setup that you have on it. Some of you may know that Zhiyun has the Weebill 3S, which is slightly more expensive than the 3E. So what is the difference between the two? Frankly, there's not a ton that's different about it. It is nearly the same weight and size, it holds the same amount of weight, and basically has all the same functionality as the 3S, but at a cheaper cost. The reason it's slightly cheaper is because it lacks the fill light that the 3S has right here. It also doesn't have the ability to attach a servo follow focus system like the 3S can. The look of the gimbal is a bit different. It's missing Zhiyun's logos in different places because this is their side company called Cinepeer, kind of like how Aperture also owns Amaran. Hammer on. And the last difference is that it doesn't have its own sling grip like the 3S does. However, you can just buy the 3S sling grip and attach it to the 3E. Basically though, it is nearly the same gimbal at a cheaper rate. The Weebill 3E costs $249, which is 12% cheaper than its 3S counterpart. But currently it's on sale for Prime Day for $212, but that price is going to end after today. So if you're interested, I would pick it up today to get that discount. So who is this gimbal for, in my opinion? I see this as being very useful for anyone who travels a bunch and wants something light and compact and can still hold a decent amount of weight. If you are deciding between this and the 3S, I personally would go with the 3E, but if the fill light, if the follow focus, and the appearance are important to you, then the 3S might be the call. Let me know what you think of the gimbal in the comments, and once again, I'm Dylan John, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.